Yo, what up, friends? On the fallout of the United States and Israel bombing Iran, obviously, Iran has said they are not going to give up fighting. And to be honest with y'all, Donald Trump talked a lot about obliteration last week. But you'll remember last week on this same program, I told y'all that I looked at the satellite images. And I told y'all that from looking at the satellite images that I did not believe there to be obliteration, that I believe that yes, there was a good amount of damage, even severe damage, but not debilitating damage. And I was right. It turned out that I was completely correct. There was no obliteration. It's not even shown that there were no expanded radiation levels, so it's not proven that we damaged any uranium. The bunker bombs, which had never been tested before, so we didn't even know if they worked or not, just didn't work as well as they had hoped. So now, where I said last time that we talked that Israel was at about a 30% capability, if they lost anything from there, which again, probably after a few weeks, they may have been a 40 or 50% by then. But either way, if you think about maybe we took about 30, 40% away, maybe they're down to 10, 20%. Remember, it only takes 6 weeks to get from 30 to 90. Now, if we damaged a lot of uranium, great. Then hopefully we would have. But again, there's no proof of that. And the damage is mostly to buildings, shelters. Yes, there obviously is some to tunnels, uranium enrichment facilities, obviously things that they have to rebuild, sure. But I mean, look at Nashville. They built a damn condo in 1 year. So how long do you think it's going to take them to rebuild their facilities? And then after that, it's not long till they start purifying again. And they already came out and said they were going to. They said they're never going to stop. So we didn't completely demolish their program, which was the whole point of us bombing them, was to completely demolish it off the face of the earth so they could never do it again. That didn't happen. So now let's say that they are able to rebuild in 6 months to a year, start doing it again by a year and a half, a year, maybe even if they're really quick, if none of the uranium was damaged, 6 months, they could be back up to having a nuclear bomb, or nuclear capable at least. So we'll see what happens. At least there has been no other retaliation aside from when we talked about last week, them attacked the bases in Qatar. Thank God all of our soldiers were safe. They did not obviously do anything after that, and that's good, but we can never put anything by them because they continued to say death to America and so on and so forth. So, all right. So anyways, where was I at? Let's see. Oh, right. That's what went along with that story. Iran actually came out and said that President Donald Trump is an enemy of God and called on Muslims to make him regret his action. It's a religious edict known as a fatwa, which is basically, I guess, and someone can correct me, assassination, loosely, I guess, violence against. This was proclaimed by the Grand Ayatollah Nasser Makarem Shirazi. So again, look, I mean, they hate Americans. We needed to try to take them out, but we didn't do a good enough job. And now they can come back and now just try to hit us harder, or even hit us easier, or whatever, have better capabilities than they may have before, which was my main concern. So anyways, as always, we'll keep you updated there. In other Iranian news, Iranian hackers have threatened President Donald Trump with an email dump. So an Iranian cyber group claims to have stolen emails from Trump and Trump allies, including Susie Wiles and Roger Stone, and is threatening to sell them. FBI Director Kash Patel has vowed full prosecution, signaling Iran's digital retaliation as a response for the nuclear attacks. So that's more information right there on that. What else we got? Let's go into the world of tariffs. Donald Trump says that he has his first tariff agreement today, is the first official one. We'll see how long this lasts. With Vietnam. Says Vietnam will pay the United States 20% tariff on any and all goods. and a 40% tariff on trans shipping, which, to be honest, he probably just thinks is shippings of trans people. I would assume is that's what he thinks that is, and that's why he's well, got to put an extra tariff on these shipping of the trans people. We don't want them coming over here. I can't. That was great. I don't know how I thought of that. That was great. Anyways, and that the U.S. will be able to sell our product into Vietnam at zero tariff, and says that that will spark the SUV market for U.S. SUVs in Vietnam. So we'll see if that actually happens in the future if they buy more SUVs. But it actually seems like that's a decent deal, to be completely honest. When I'm looking at both sides of that deal, it seems like that's a pretty decent deal. I mean, if they're getting cheaper goods into our country, they should probably have to pay more. And if they agree to pay more and let us get in there for free, then why wouldn't we take that? So if that deal can actually hold up, which again seems like a good deal for both countries, then that would be, good for the United States. So we'll see what happens there, and we'll keep you updated on that. In other words, in other news that could be considered a Trump win on tariffs, 106 billion have apparently been collected in tariffs since the Trump trade agenda was enacted. The CBP, Customs of Border and Protection, says they have collected 100. When yes, by the way, they are the ones, which is crazy. I never knew that until I found that out a few weeks ago. The Customs and Border Protection is the organization that actually oversees tariffs. That's wild to me. I would think it would be like the financial bank or like the Fed or something. Anyways, they say they have collected 106 billion in customs revenue, mostly aimed at from the tariffs. The Department of Homeland Security claims a 99.5% collection rate. I don't believe 99.5% anything in life, so I don't believe that. But we'll say it's above 90% and hope that that's good. And 16.3 billion recovered through enforcement of anti-evasion measures. So people trying to evade the tariffs they are collecting billions of dollars from. So again, if that trade deal does hold up with Vietnam, you would say that that first deal would be a win. And you would say if these numbers are actually true, that that would be good for the United States as well to be collecting that amount of tariffs. So you would definitely give those two wins to the president, Donald Trump. Obviously, I'm neutral on this program. So while I am going to critique both sides and both parties and definitely hit both of them when they're doing things incorrectly, and I do for Donald Trump, I will as well give him his flowers if he does something that's correct. And, if those two things hold out, they would be positive for the United States. In other news, the FBI has arrested Chinese spies targeting the United States Navy. 2 Chinese nationals, Yuan Chen and Liran Lai, were arrested for spying on Navy personnel and attempting to recruit U.S. Navy service members for Chinese intelligence. Wowzers. What? The plot was exploited by Chinese American recruits, revealing vulnerabilities in military recruitment and national security. Look, y'all, if you are in the military, unless you already went in the military with a plan for sabotage, which if you do, then I guess if you can get through all that and get into the intel world, especially with having to get a security clearance and all that, well, I guess I got to give you your props for being pretty sly enough to get through there. But what I will say is, as a veteran and as a former member of the government as well, I don't appreciate you being taken to the other side. Okay? Stop giving away our information. They're always trying to recruit you. The foreign adversaries and enemies, Russia, China, North Korea, they are always trying to recruit you. Do not give in to their cyber, their digital, their psycho warfare. Don't do it. You protect the United States and their secrets at all costs. I don't think I should have to say that to my military personnel. Brothers and sisters, I love y'all, my veteran brethren. Not even veteran, the active duty brethren, I love y'all. We got to be smarter, okay? Don't get fooled by the females from different countries because they're probably spies. Don't get fooled by anybody, man or female. Or maybe if you're a woman, you get fooled by the man. But I can tell you right now, it's quite common in the intel world, in the government, for foreign adversaries to use spies of the other sex to be able to persuade members of that country's military to, what's the word I'm looking for? Defect. Thank you, Omar. Complimented myself. That's great. The Israel and Hamas, Iran situation. We're looking at Russia and Ukraine wars, right? We're looking at all of these different foreign wars all over the world. Now, we heard about all these different ceasefires that were supposed to occur. Let's talk first about Russia and Ukraine. There was a ceasefire, if you remember, I announced on the shows a couple weeks ago, and I said, remember that these ceasefires are very lightweight in execution. These things never last, y'all. They just don't. When you have warring factions, warring countries, warring religions, warring races that have been warring for thousands of years, centuries, you're going to have never-ending wars. And so, Russia-Ukraine is more of a, goes back to the 50s, not necessarily generationally, but it's still been a long time that they've been doing this sort of thing. Forget it. Russia fired 322 drones and decoys into Ukraine overnight on Saturday. Ukraine's Air Force said 157 of those drones were shot down, 135 lost, which means they were electronically jammed. No injuries or deaths were reported, but again, when you're getting this information from one side or the other, you got to take it with a grain of salt until there's actually other news sources that verify that information. Ukraine then said it came back and struck Russia's airbase on Saturday. So this is obviously this, not addition is a bad word for it. This segment of this war, these last 3 years, because remember, it has been going on a long time, not since the 50s, like I just stated earlier, more like probably like the 80s, since they were USSR and they broke up, but still, long time. They are going back and forth. President Donald Trump has been pushing for a ceasefire here, but obviously Russian President Vladimir Putin is not listening. Trump has said he's talked to him multiple times on the phone, including this weekend, said he was not pleased with Putin's response. But again, as I said when this started, you're not going to get him to change his mind. I don't know why you're trying to get him to change his mind. He's not going to listen to you just because you tell him to stop the war. He obviously is out for territory of Ukraine, out to demolish and make sure that they are subservient to Russia. President Donald Trump, no matter how much power he has here and around the world, is not going to be able to make Vladimir Putin stop the war. It's just not possible. Just like he hasn't been able to make Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, and Hamas stop fighting in Iran. So, we are seeing these things over and over. Please do not believe these ceasefires, most of them, even if they come into fruition and actually last for a little length of time, always end up ending anyways years later. So, again, we'll keep you updated on all of this, but that is the update there in Russia and Ukraine because of the fact that also this past weekend, Trump said he had a good call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That doesn't necessarily mean anything either, because again, it's not on either one of those. It's on Vladimir Putin and when he feels like ending that war. In other news, in the Israel and Hamas, Israel has sent negotiators to the Gaza Strip to talk with Hamas because Hamas has come back saying that Israel's demands are unacceptable. The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, aforementioned, is seeking humanitarian pauses while maintaining military objectives. Kind of hard to do. Can't really say you're going to want to have humanitarian pauses now and then just to go help the civilians that you've been bombing and are killing and dehousing and displacing and all of these other things, and then say that you want to also, it's got to be one or the other. If you're going to continue to bombing them, I mean, the only reason at this point Netanyahu is even letting humanitarian pauses and humanitarian aid going in is because all of the humanitarian organizations around the world have been going at him for a minute now because of the fact that they have been blockaded from food for 3 months now, at least. When was what are we in now? When was the last time they got a food ship? It doesn't matter. They've had a blockade in place for a while, and famine started to set in. Women, children, everybody was just getting sick. Some were dying. It was very, very unfortunate. So this definitely needs to come to an end because those innocent civilians within that area don't deserve to die due to a famine in a war they didn't start and didn't choose to be in. Anyways, moving on. Uh, in the same kind of news here, we'll go back a second to where you had the Iran and Israel, where we helped Israel to bomb, and we did bomb as well. Iran has come out and said they did not agree to give up your enrichment of uranium. So President Donald Trump is going to talk to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to see what they can do about it. But Iran is clearly not giving up their nuclear enrichment capabilities. They want to keep developing them. Now, Israel did say they were sending a delegation to Qatar, or Qatar, however you like to pronounce it, after Hamas said it was ready to negotiate on that United States proposed 60-day ceasefire. We will let you know if that actually happens this week, but Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has made his first appearance since the 12-day war. I don't know why that's such a horrible name, because then it just started back up anyways, with Israel. So we'll see. Again, I don't expect that ceasefire to last either. I expect bombing to start again at any moment, but I hope not, for the sake of the civilians and the sake of the people that are living there that don't deserve this because they don't even want to be involved in it. In other news, let's go ahead and, well, actually, you know what? On that note, there is a meeting taking place. It's called the BRICS Summit. Now, if you don't know what the BRICS Summit is, the BRICS countries are Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Some of the biggest and emerging global economies in the world. So if you look at these countries, and South Africa, my apology, they added South Africa within the past, 10 years or so. I remember it as BRIC, but it is now BRICS. So anyways, when you look at these are the economies that are the real big global economies that are blowing up. They have had their own global conference now. They're having their annual meeting that they started, and they have continued this year. However, for the first time in a decade, Chinese leader Xi Jinping decided not to attend. This group is a counter group to the G7, which we know the group of seven being the United States, Canada, and the others, Germany, France, otherwise, that are all allied countries. They are aligning themselves and are not very happy with the additional tariffs that Donald Trump talked about this past weekend, which we will get into in just a second. Don't worry, I'm going to give you the tariff updates here when we go to U.S. News. I'm going to bring Amul on in about 5 minutes here once I get done with this world news. But we've got to see, will that actually come to fruition? Again, all of these things around the world, y'all, are so hesitant, so up in the air. So will they, won't they? And we just got to keep you updated and make sure that you're staying aware, staying abreast of those situations. Where's my Beavis and Butthead? That really would have came in handy right at that time if I knew I was going to say that, but I didn't. But I'm still going to play it anyways because abreast and this sound bite are hilarious together.
Boobs. I just want to say that again. Boobs.
I don't know who remembers Beavis and Butthead, but tremendous, Beavis. Thank you. All right. So, anyways, in other news in the world, the United States is also satisfied with Lebanon's Hezbollah disarmament proposal. So we here in the United States, Washington proposed to Lebanon a way to disarm Hezbollah, another terrorist group. Lebanon actually agreed and was in favor and reacted positively to it, as they want to see Beirut stop being bombed and stop being blockaded by Israel. Another joint Israel-U.S. thing we got going on there. I'm not going to say anything about that, but if you know anything about world news, you can assume whatever you want in that relationship. But Lebanon's government does see it as a diplomatic step amid regional and diplomatic pressures, and they want to actually get the terrorist group out, which is good for us. What else in terrorist news? The security situation has collapsed in Gaza. Remember we were talking about the blockade a couple minutes ago? Well, Hamas has lost 80% of control over Gaza. So, which is good for Israel and good for us, if that's true. But again, we have to remember that even Israel says things that are exaggerated to help their case. They just do. But they do say that the local governance is collapsing amid conflict and power vacuums. We can only hope that to be so. We do not want any of these terrorist organizations around the world being able to operate. That being said, they also said that there is no stopping a civil war against Hamas. The Gaza Strip militia chief warns that fighting Hamas has escalated to civil war levels. So now that means that Gaza factions, military and civilian, are actually fighting back against Hamas, which probably contributed to them losing the 80% that we just talked about of control. Great news if true, but again, we have to see how it plays out. I see my brother Amul just came in. I'm going to get him in just a few minutes. He is there. I want him to know, let him know I see him back in the green room, as we call it, and I'll let him in just a couple minutes. Let me get through the rest of this world news. Also, a new report emerged of the full-scale threat that Iran poses to the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom government warns of Iran-linked cyber attacks targeting national infrastructure. The assessment highlights Tehran's, capital of Iran, increasing aggressive espionage and hacking campaigns. So that's really crazy, and we got to make sure that, this all goes together. All of these terrorist groups, the Hamas and Israel fight, they are aligned with Iran. Iran is fighting Israel. Hezbollah aligned with Iran, right? So all of these terrorist groups are aligned with the country of Iran. That doesn't make all the Iranians bad people. Their civilians are good people. But the people that control the country do a lot of bad things. And those people especially that are backed by the Hamas, are terrorists. And they need to be stopped. Because once they can stop Hamas, once they succeed in getting 100% control, right? Remember, we just mentioned they have 80% control. Once Israel, I say we because we're in it with Israel, once they get 100% control, then Israel plans on making the Rafah ruins a humanitarian zone. They propose relocating Gaza's population to a designated zone. I don't like this because it reeks of ethnic displacement. It reeks of removing people and displacing them from the home that they have grown and known their whole lives and do not deserve to be taken from. Now, if you say you're going to move them back in once you've rebuilt, then maybe. But then again, I wouldn't even believe that, no matter who that came from, because we know that world leaders want control, and they want control of it. It's like a game of Risk. Y'all remember the game of Risk? I know my buddy Amul's about to talk about the game of Risk I love the game of Risk. All right, the game of Risk, but is taking control of territories around the world. But we are not in the 1500s. This isn't the Ottoman Empire. You know what I'm saying? We cannot just go around conquering territories anymore. There are rules. There are international laws that prevent these, or are supposed to prevent these things from happening. Supposed to. Last bit of news before we go to U.S. news and bring in our guest. The Iran president here alleges that there was an assassination attempt in a Tucker Carlson interview. Now, first of all, I didn't have the Iranian president being interviewed by Tucker Carlson on my 2025 bingo card. I just didn't. Amul, I have to bring you in on this because I just feel like I never thought an Iranian president would be interviewed by Tucker freaking Carlson. Are we living? Are we literally in the Twilight Zone now? I'm confused.
I was watching a TikTok video earlier today where someone was pitching, saying that we're in the year 2026. I don't know what year we're in. Are we in a parallel universe? Will Matt Smith return as the Doctor? We'll find out after these messages, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, we're more in like 2136. That's what we're in right now.
I know. It's crazy. What are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? This is a lot like Risk. I'll just piggyback off your earlier comment, but also, do you follow non-context West Wing? It's like an old Twitter/X handle that they still. Okay, there is literally a storyline. It's literally a storyline ripped from the West Wing, season 7, across all of season 7, where it's the same issue: Israel, Palestine, and President Bartlett's trying to solve peace. That's exactly what's happening here. It happened in 2003 when we were in school. There were a lot of riots then. There were a lot of debates then, and here we are. Coming off what you were talking about, moving people and displacement, it's not a good thing. But right now, this is the world we're living in. And if you go into whitehouse.gov, I see the social media is a scam to an extent. Like, there isn't a whole lot that, is true to an extent. And
right.
Someone was saying,
most of what you see.
Yeah. And someone was saying you can go to whitehouse.gov and they've removed the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. I don't know if this is true.
At all.
I don't know if this is true at all. But I do wish that people would stop posting fake stuff like that. It's one of the reasons I'm not on there all that much anymore.
So in this world that we're in, this geopolitical tension, ceasefires are very lightweight on execution.
Yes.
And the fact that I mentioned this earlier, this is not what I want to ask you, this just adds on to it. But the fact that President Donald Trump thinks he can end these things or create ceasefires without the actual people that are in it wanting the ceasefire does not help anything. It doesn't hurt anything either per se, but it's not like making Vladimir Putin like, oh, I'm gonna stop because Trump told me to. Like, no, he's been doing this forever. He needs to stop when he gets what he wants.
It's admirable, but Bush 1 tried it. Bush 2 tried it. I think Obama probably tried it. Clinton tried it. So you have presidents on both sides of the aisle trying to make peace in the Middle East. It has been our Waterloo. It has been something that we won't be able to do, or maybe we will. Maybe we both.
That was my question.
My
question was, in our lifetime, do we see these endless wars or these forever wars ending? Any of them?
If we have kids, it will probably occur in their lifetimes too. I was just talking with someone recently that about the same exact thing. 20 years ago, I remember on campus at VCU, there being massive debates between Israel and Palestine. And I was a student government rep then. You were supposed to attend those. And they got contentious. They got heated. And now with with social media coming up the last decade, it's not last 2 decades. I'm sorry. The debates are now online. They aren't, in public town squares anymore, but digital town squares. And I don't know if it's going to continue or not. I really don't know. I mean, you have, like you said, you had BRICS meeting earlier, so that's going to probably continue. There's going to be more of that. Yeah, because
they're
People
all
want to
just
protect
they're all
themselves
just against us.
because of the way our current administration is, portraying itself to the world.
Subscribe on YouTube at Ball and Buds